Okay, we've got 5 panels. We're going to show you the difference between daisy chaining our cables and dealing with all the excess cable that we have, and what is referred to as odds and evens connection, which is eventually going to save us quite a lot of cable. So if you could connect up our first panel to our second panel, please. And as we can see, he's got a lot of cable that he needs to get rid of, and before he can make his negative connection, they're going to need to pass him the spare cable, and we're wanting our positive end. Feeding our return all the way through, connecting it up to our negative end of our panel, dealing with the excess cable that we have. We're going to be using black cable ties because obviously in a few minutes we're going to be taking it apart. If you're talking to your customer about a maintenance contract, you will be back every 4 months, and in which case the black cable ties are quite acceptable. But our cables nicely sorted out of the way, cable tied using our black cables. Because you're coming back every 4 months, we don't have a problem with them deteriorating. But we've always got this monster excess of cables that we've got to deal with in between our panels. Panel 1 and 2, panel 1 goes to panel 2. The other end runs all the way through to our array connection. And to connect panel 2 to number 3. And once again, we've got a lot of cable that we need to deal with. Strap up nicely, neatly out of the way. Sort out what we need to as far as our cables go, get them nice and neat. We're going to cut off our excess ends up leaving our job very nice and very neat. Excess cable that we once again manipulating to try and get it to look nice and neat and out of the way. Does take a fair amount of excess time to deal with, and as we know, time is precious. The less time we spend on a job, the better for us. Connecting panel 3 to panel 4. We're using the space that has already been molded into our rail for us to try and keep our cables nice and neat. The excess cable is a problem. We always need to try and make arrangements to get it out, and no matter what we do, it ends up being visible. The last 2 connections we need to do are directly down to our array cable. We're connecting a short bit of cable in on our array, which will be going to our roof mount isolator, or our isolator which is going to give us our ELV segmentation. At this stage we haven't worried about the ELV segmentation because most people will be just looking for a roof mount isolator. A full array string, 5 panels, all in series, nicely strapped up, out of the way, all our cables looking as neat as we can get them, in spite of all the excess cable that we've had to deal with in between each panels. Yeah, previously we looked at daisy chaining our panels, where we connected panel 1 to panel 2 to panel 3 to panel 4 to panel 5, etc. and we had a lot of cable in between panel 1 that we had to deal with, and panel 2 and 3 that we had to deal with. And here what we're going to do is odds and evens. The first thing we don't need is this cable that runs from panel 1 all the way through to the other end. That is money back into your back pocket. Can we connect panel 1 to panel 2? And unfortunately, yes, he's got a lot of cable to deal with. He passes panel 1's connection through for panel 3. Our negative end and our positive end. Here we go. And we have far less cable to deal with. As soon as we suck it back, the excess cable is not required anymore. Panel 2's lead, can we pass on to panel 4 please? Panel 4 to panel 3, we're going to panel 5. Panel 3 to panel 5. Our panel 4 has one extra end, and that is going to go to our array cable, and panel 5 is our other extra end, which is going to go to our array cable. And we can use our stainless steel cable ties on this job because you're never going to have to undo these connections. We have our job finished. Looking at our final connection into our array cable, and this would go to our roof mount isolator or PV array isolator. I do recommend that you consider going to an isolator that will give you your ELV segmentation, meaning that for every 2 panels you have an isolation point here with the excess cable that is going to couple in to that particular point. ELV isolation at your roof mount isolator means that as soon as you isolate it, you are safe to work. Your 400, 500 volt array voltage has been reduced to below 120 volts, which means it can be worked on quite safely.